Fallen is one of the 4 remaining game modes of TDS. It's supposed to be the hardest out of the 4, and overall plays as the most important. In this video, I'll be explaining the problems with the Fallen rework and why it's not fun to play on. So before this video starts, leave a like on the video, subscribe to my channel, and feel free to say your opinion on the Fallen game mode. You can also give your opinions on the video if you want, but yeah, let's get into the video. My first problem about Fallen is Fallen rework just made the game mode a lot more slower to play on, especially for casual players. Before the rework, you can get around 20 to 25 minutes for 700 coins, which is already considered a bad grind. Pizza Party literally gives 50% more coins for around the same time and wasn't even that much harder. Both game modes were easily beat with intermediate towers, but however, the new Fallen rework averages about 30 to 35 minutes for 1000 coins. Pizza Party is literally 50% faster and you get around the same coins. Just play Pizza Party for God's sake. The game mode is extremely poorly paced as the waves just last long. There's a lot more enemies in the newer waves and it makes the game a lot slower to play on. An easy solution to this is just to make the Fallen rework waves last shorter. You know hardcore where the first wave lasts for 15 seconds and then goes to the next wave? I think this will make the game mode a lot more fun to play on, as currently it takes forever to beat later waves, in which we're going to our next issue, which can make the game mode last shorter. Fallen spawns a lot of enemies. When I mean a lot, I mean throughout the entire game. After wave 13, the game mode just starts spawning a bunch of enemies, which makes the game mode not fun to play. The amount of breakers I see from waves 14 to 21 is actually insane. It just makes the enemies just more forgettable. In hardcore, you see how some waves are just straightforward. A decent amount of waves just spawn a couple of different enemies and it goes through another variety. But Fallen spawns a bunch of different types of enemies that makes it much slower and not interesting to play on. This is probably my main problem with the newer game modes. The amount of enemy swap is actually insane. Any spam can be good and encourage splash towers, but the entirety of Fallen and Intermediate is just enemy spam. Sorry if I sound harsh, by the way. Fallen should just focus on having waves with lower enemies in waves with a lot of enemy, so that way the game mode can feel cleaner and you know what waves are what. I'll just show you how many enemies each wave spawns from waves 31 to 40. It's actually insane. Some Fallen enemies feel quite poorly made. Enemies like Fallen Jesters are just straight up overpowered. Being able to make any enemy besides major bosses become 4 times stronger is insane. Another reason why enemy attributes should be changeable from one enemy to another, as it just makes them easier to use. This enemy is probably why 90% of people even die in Fallen, because of how overpowered it is. Fallen also abuses a lot of bloated enemies, which makes the enemies more forgettable in general. Boomers serve no purpose but to make melee towers worse in the late game. They don't even fit in the Fallen rework. They should be just removed. Speaking of useless enemies like Fallen Hazmat, Corrupted Fallen, which also contributes to enemy spam, I don't think these enemies serve a purpose for Fallen mode besides to add more filler. I know the Fallen King is supposed to be kind of mediocre as an enemy because the Awakened Fallen King is supposed to be a true final boss of Fallen, but I still don't like this idea. Hidden Wave in general is already not that good because it's a way of getting it. Trying to get 1 HP isn't that hard, it makes the game a lot slower to play on. And having to kill Fallen King just encourages spamming DPS towers with no strategy. I think the idea of only having to speed for Fallen mode back done in 2020 for the original Hidden Wave, except less harsh of a time to show how skilled you were to experience the true final boss of Fallen, is much cooler than rather having to play an even more boring and slower version of Fallen just to experience the phase 2 version of Fallen King. Speaking of Hidden Wave, the entire wave is just a DPS check. You get a paycheck of $2 million, which you are just encouraged to bring as much late game stuff as possible. This discourages bringing half the towers for Hidden Wave and encourages you to spam consumables in the early game, as you don't have many early game towers. Really, all Hidden Wave matches are just Ranger, Turret, Gatling, Support, and sometimes Engineer. Nothing else matters. I think the whole paycheck idea isn't bad, but it should not be 2 million. Maybe a few 100,000, but 2 million just guarantees that you have infinite cash and you can get everything you want. Hidden Wave is also extremely laggy. I don't know if this is fixable, but these, I hope this gets fixed, because it's really unplayable, as I get 10 to 20 FPS most of the time. Yeah, that's all I have to say about it.